All right, I'm fascinated with this little tree in front of us, so I'm trying to figure out how to orchestrate it into a picture. I want to get some of the background, the canyon behind us. So we're going to kind of drop down a little bit. We're going to use a shallow depth of field. And just let the canyon kind of blur out behind it. Color balance is still set for the shade. Our sun just dropped behind a cloud. Move over a little bit now, the traffic is out of the way. See if I can get some of that red in there. Right there. Focused on the tree, shallow depth of field. I actually want the canyon wall to be out of focus. There, that's what I'm looking for. Let's talk about how I applied the fundamentals of photography to this scene to create an interesting image. Now, the first thing we did is we defined what our subject was. What's our subject? The subject is the bush. The subject is paramount. And in every photograph, the subject should jump and scream off the image. If it doesn't, then you have failed. Next, I did my exposure and my color balance. Now, I didn't actually show that in this particular scene because I had already set my color balance and my exposure in a previous photograph using the aid of gray card. Next, we've talked about focus and depth of field. And you'll hear me mention in there that I wanted a really short depth of field, because I wanted the bush to be sharp and the background not to be sharp, so that we could bring more emphasis to the bush. 3, composition. You'll notice that the bush is not placed in the center. That's always our temptation when we're taking photographs, is to place the bush in the center. Now, you'll also notice when we talk about composition, we also talk about lens selection. And here I actually used a very long lens. And you're thinking, oh, the bush is right in front of you. Why do you need to use a long lens? And the reason is I don't want anything other than the bush in the picture. You know, we've got a foreground, but I don't want the rest of the foreground in the picture. I just want the bush. I also want to isolate the bush against a very small portion of the background. I just want to take a small portion of the background. I don't want the whole background. I don't want the sky. I don't want the whole canyon. I just want a small portion of it. And for that reason, I used a very long lens so that I could isolate the bush from its surroundings and isolate it against a certain piece of its background. Next, lighting. Now, I didn't do any light control in this situation because we had a nice quality of light already coming in from the angle. Light needs to come in from an angle, not from camera angle, because the object of light, as we all know, is to create dimension and create texture. So that's how we apply the fundamentals. Now, let's take a look at the 2 images I took. I only took 2 pictures of the bush. Everything was correct. Why do I need to take more? And I like the one on the right more because I felt that the one on the left, that the background was starting to distract from the bush. Notice how the background's a little bit sharper there, and where on the one on the right, the bush completely separates from the background. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something from it. Thanks for watching.